My dear fellow jugglers in the Cirque du Suburbia, you may think your home impervious to encroaching adult themes, but nature always finds a way, and they're going to learn it all one day. It's probably better in some ways than by some other means. You'll all be aware of the endless oughts that contort and constrict instinctive care. Single modern motherhood is a carousel tersely tethered with knots. Will knots and spill knots and hope knots and choke knots and try knots and cry knots and teach knots and eat knots. The most strangulatory of these tangles is expose not, meaning protect your child against the darkness of this world and teach them the strength of enlightenment. The entitlement of access to the hive mind, by necessity a skill they must learn, because coding is the future, shoots my determined obsolescence right in the maternals. So to detract from external influence, I knew what to do. We'd get a pet. Landlord clause, no fur or paws, no electricity eating heated enclosures, no live food, no rodents, no hooves, smooth or cloven. From amidst this messy mesh, a loophole I sagely extracted. No one had said anything about marine arachnids. Fish tank purchased, live plants in, filter on, and the process begins. Background Danios, spotty and stripy, soar and fly and are occasionally fighty, but mostly work as extras in the theatre of the tank. We even had a red shirt. For his sacrifice we thank him. In true tradition we set the stage. When he died, the first act was over. 2 long months we'd had to wait for the algae bloom to cover enough of the surfaces to act as a rider for our new stars, the undersea spiders, or shrimp, as they're also called, or as some people say, you mean pet prawns? Yes, is the answer. Now, after about a month, a strange thing appeared. At first, no bigger than a poppy seed. Then as it grew, I came to realize there was more than one stowaway snail inside. Joe was delighted. I was concerned about intercrustacean diplomatic relations, but they coexisted peacefully, and the purpose was perfectly served. Until the day these mucilaginous interlopers, now numbering maybe 4 or 5, decided to stage a 3-day, 3-way sex show. Live. Right at the front of the tank they were. Mummy, what are they doing? I think they're making babies, Joe. But there's 3 of them. Yeah, I know. Look, they're snails. I'm not sure. I can't explain it. Hey, who's that in the castle with his face out the door? Is it Blackfish? Has he made friends with the shrimp? He's the first fish to spend time in there, I think. This happily distracting friendship warmed both of our hearts, and we smiled as Blackfish spent more time in the dark, and the shrimp brought him food, and he slowly grew fatter, but everything was lovely and nothing else mattered. The snail's population in the background grew and grew. We lost count when they got past 22. And then one morning I was woken by Joe screaming, "Mummy! The shrimp have got Blackfish and they're opening his tummy!" I raced in and slackjaw gawped. The violence was alarming. But more than this, the realization that shrimp understand farming? 2 medium shrimp held corpse fish still while big shrimp did the slashing, and then they gathered around and gorged themselves. Joe, big-eyed, watched the action. More generations of snails came, then more and more and more, until the monopod population was a problem we couldn't ignore. We had to get rid of all of them. We couldn't leave even an egg. They'd eaten us out of live plants, and we'd had to get fake ones instead. It took the final solution. We gave the tank a deep clean, and boiled the snails in the gravel, and murdered their babies with steam. And then rebuilt the tank from the ground up, and so far it seems to go well. It's more like an 8-year-old's fish tank and less like the circles of hell. I think it's fair to say in this case my attempts at parenting were a little misplaced by nature, red and tooth and claw, or transparent in the case of the shrimp's grinding maw. I tried to protect my son from his curiosity and an internet search engine, but accidentally introduced him to orgies, murder, evisceration, and ethnic cleansing.